started like any ordinary evening for 27-year-old Hannah, a young nurse living in Austin, Texas, who worked long night shifts and often came home past midnight. Had always been cautious, never parked in dark alleys, kept her pepper spray close, and avoided talking to strangers. But what she didn't know was that sometimes danger doesn't walk up to you. It follows you silently, watching every move you make, without you ever realizing it. One Friday night, after finishing her shift, Hannah noticed something odd on her iPhone. A notification popped up that said, "An unknown AirTag is moving with you." She froze. Her heart skipped a beat. At first, she thought it was some glitch or maybe her roommate's AirTag nearby. But the message persisted, warning her that the device had been tracking her location for over an hour. Panic crept in. She parked under a street light, locked the doors, and searched her car seat under her bags. Beneath the dashboard, nothing. Then she turned off her car light, took a deep breath, and looked under the rear wheel arch. There it was, a small white AirTag taped behind her bumper. A chill ran through her spine. She peeled it off with trembling fingers, her mind racing with questions. Who put this here? Why me? When she checked the serial number through Apple's safety feature, the police traced it to a man she had once rejected months ago, a patient's relative who had asked her out after a hospital visit. He'd been following her home for weeks, watching where she went, using the AirTag as his silent companion. Cops found him parked just a few blocks away, waiting. That night, Hannah sat on her couch shaking, thinking of how easily a small device meant for finding lost keys nearly cost her safety, or worse, her life. From that day, she shared her story online to warn others, her voice trembling as she said, "Sometimes evil doesn't have to knock. It just hides in plain sight." The second story comes from a young couple, Liam and Grace, who had just moved into a new apartment in Chicago. They were excited to start fresh, far away from their old neighborhood and all its bad memories. Grace had recently left an abusive relationship, and Liam wanted nothing more than to keep her safe. But one night, as they returned home from a late dinner, Grace's iPhone buzzed with that same haunting message. "An AirTag has been detected moving with you." Liam immediately went cold. He searched Grace's purse, her coat, even her shoes, but found nothing. The notification, however, continued to update their location from the restaurant, to the car, to their apartment. Something or someone was tracking them in real time. Grace started crying, terrified that her ex might have found her. Liam decided to check the car more thoroughly and eventually discovered the AirTag lodged behind the passenger seatbelt slot, hidden under the plastic casing. When they brought it to the police, the officers told them the device was registered to a name that Grace instantly recognized, her ex-boyfriend. He had found a way to track her new life, even after she changed her number, moved cities, and blocked every possible contact. But what made their blood run cold wasn't the device itself. It was the history log that Apple showed them. The tracker had been with them for weeks. Every trip to the grocery store, every night drive, every visit to her workplace, he had seen it all. Liam immediately moved them to another apartment, got their locks changed, and even started checking their car daily. Grace deleted her social media, terrified that any trace of her could lead him back again. When she finally recorded a TikTok video telling her story, it went viral overnight, thousands of women commenting that they, too, had received similar notifications. The scariest part, Liam said later, wasn't the AirTag itself. It was realizing how easy it was for someone to invade your world without ever stepping into it. Third story is one that still gives me chills whenever I tell it. The story of Daniel, rideshare driver from Los Angeles who learned that sometimes the hunted can become the hunter. Daniel worked late nights picking up passengers across the city, but one evening after dropping off a quiet woman at a hotel, he noticed something strange. His iPhone pinged with the same notification. "An unknown AirTag is moving with you." Confused, he thought maybe a passenger had accidentally left their AirTag in his back seat. He searched but found nothing. The next night, it happened again, then again the following week. It didn't make sense. The notification appeared only when he was in certain parts of the city, as if something or someone wanted him to know they were near. Finally, after a week of paranoia, Daniel decided to get help. A friend who was good with tech helped him trace the AirTag signal. which led them to something unbelievable. The AirTag wasn't inside his car, it was underneath it, magnetically attached near the rear tire. When he took it to the police, they ran the device's serial number and found it had been used in multiple open cases connected to a criminal group that targeted rideshare drivers to rob or hijack them once they stopped for fuel. The AirTag helped them follow drivers for days until they were alone. Daniel was lucky he had found it just in time, but the police told him something that made his blood turn cold. The AirTag had been sending his exact location every few minutes, including his home address. Someone somewhere had been watching him for days, waiting for the perfect moment, holding the small AirTag up to the camera and saying, "This thing almost cost me my life." The comment section was flooded with similar stories, people who had no idea they were being tracked until it was too late. Each of these stories reminds us of one terrifying truth. Sometimes the scariest monsters aren't the ones hiding in the dark. They're the ones using technology we trust every day. These stories aren't meant just to shock you, they're meant to open your eyes. Always check your surroundings. Always listen to your instincts. And if your phone ever warns you about an unknown AirTag, don't ignore it. You never know who might be watching, waiting, or following just out of sight. And if you want more real, spine-chilling stories like these, the kind that make you look over your shoulder every time your phone buzzes, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon and stay alert, because the next true story might be yours. It began with a soft chime, the kind of sound your phone makes when it connects to something nearby. For Sarah, a freelance photographer from Oregon, her work often required long drives, isolated spots, and hours of focus behind the camera. But one night, while reviewing photos in her car, an unknown AirTag is moving with you. She froze in the darkness, her headlights illuminating the fog ahead. The coastal wind howled outside as she glanced around the empty car, her heart racing faster with every second. She searched her bags, the glove box, even under the seats, nothing. Then she remembered something earlier that day. At a small roadside diner, a man had asked if she was traveling alone, smiling too wide when she nervously replied yes. Maybe it was nothing, but maybe it wasn't. Her hand shook as she opened the Find My app, watching the AirTag's location update, following her exact position. Mile after mile, she pulled over, frantically checking her car again. It wasn't until she stepped outside and crouched near the rear bumper that she saw it, a small white disc, crudely taped behind the license plate. Her scream echoed into the empty night. She ripped it off, threw it to the ground, and crushed it under her boot. When she reported it to the police, tracking every stop she made, including the motel she stayed in the previous night, whoever planted it knew where she slept, where she ate, and how long she stayed at each location. Sarah later shared her story online, her voice trembling as she said, "You never really feel alone again after something like that." The sound of that AirTag chime haunted her dreams for months, the reminder that sometimes your silence isn't yours anymore. The second story comes from a college student named Marcus in New York City. He worked late night shifts at a warehouse to pay his tuition, then walking home alone through dimly lit streets. Confused, he assumed it belonged to one of his co-workers, maybe someone's keys nearby. But when the alert followed him for nearly an hour, dread began to creep in. He walked faster, his steps echoing through the quiet alleyways. When he stopped, the alert updated again. The AirTag was still moving with him. The clerk, noticing his panic, helped him check under his jacket and shoes. Still nothing. But then Marcus remembered he'd used a friend's borrowed jacket that night. When he turned the inner pocket inside out, there it was, the small, circular tracker neatly sewn into the fabric. Someone had planted it carefully, almost professionally, targeting night shift workers who carried expensive electronics or cash tips. They tracked victims' routines and ambushed them days later. Marcus was lucky. He found it before they made their move. But what haunted him most wasn't the device itself. It was the idea that someone had been following him for days, watching him through a silent signal he couldn't hear or see. He deleted his social media, stopped sharing his location with anyone, and began warning others at his college. Find it before it finds you. The third story belongs to a woman named Julia, a single mother of two living in Dallas. Her story started innocently. She bought an AirTag to track her son's backpack after he lost it one too many times. But the horror began when she started receiving notifications of another AirTag nearby that didn't belong to her. At first, she brushed it off, assuming it was another parent's device at school or maybe her neighbor's, but the alerts began to follow her home every single day. One night, while driving her kids to their grandmother's house, the AirTag alert came again. She parked the car, checked the bags, the car seats, even the trunk. Nothing. It wasn't until the next morning, when she opened her children's toy bin, that she found it. The AirTag was hidden inside one of her daughter's dolls, wedged deep beneath the stuffing. Her hands trembled as she pulled it apart. The police traced it back to her ex-husband, a man with a history of controlling behavior who wasn't allowed near the children without supervision, tracking their movements for weeks. When Julia confronted him in court, he smirked, saying, "Just wanted to make sure they were safe." The judge didn't see it that way. Julia later told reporters that she couldn't sleep for months, always checking the kids' bags, toys, and clothes, terrified. Another hidden tracker was lurking somewhere. She looked straight into the camera and said, "If you ever think it can't happen to you, think again. I thought I was protecting my family, but the very device I trusted for safety became our nightmare." These are not urban legends. These are real stories, real people, and real dangers hiding behind something as small as a coin. People design the AirTag to help you find what's lost, but in the wrong hands, it finds you instead. Each case is a chilling reminder that our world is changing and not always for the better. We live in an age where privacy is a myth, where even silence has a signal. And as technology grows smarter, so do those who use it for darkness. So before you scroll past this video or forget what you just heard, remember this: if your phone ever warns you about an unknown AirTag, take it seriously. Check your car, check your bags, check everything, because the moment you ignore that sound, it might already be too late. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching and staying alert. Every story shared here comes with a purpose: to keep you aware, to keep you safe, and to remind you that evil doesn't always knock. Sometimes it just tracks. If you want more true, spine-chilling stories like these, the ones that make you double-check your surroundings, turn off your lights, and question the ordinary, then make sure to subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that like button, ring the bell icon, and join our growing community of truth seekers. We'll never stop watching the shadows, because out there somewhere another signal is waiting to be found, and the next true story might just be yours.